So Europe has a very big debt problem, and that debt problem exists not just in the governments or the sovereigns, but also in the private sector. And it is not getting any better. Over the last few years, in fact, debt ratios have been rising, and all projections show that they will continue to rise. The approach to dealing with debt has been twofold. First, through fiscal austerity, which focuses entirely on sovereign debt, and a very concerted effort at austerity has been made. We now have the results, and the results are that it has not worked to reduce the debt ratios. The other approach has been to use official money to pay private creditors. And while that has possibly eased some of the market tensions, it's not a sustainable strategy. You cannot keep using official money to pay private creditors. So we are now down to our last option, which is we have to think carefully about debt restructuring. And we have to think of it in a systematic and proactive way, because otherwise we will have arbitrary results, and that will only create more inequity and confusion, and will potentially create problems which we don't need to really have. So the basic proposal in the paper is one which makes this a predictable process, such that everyone understands why it is happening and what the parameters are. The evidence from historical experiences is that creditors understand and they recognize that there are times when debt needs to be restructured. This idea that creditors hate debt restructuring is only partly true. If I have loaned money to somebody and I know that they cannot repay, I have to come to some accommodation with them. And the sovereign debt history is similar. Sovereign debt history is similar in the sense that there is a notion of excusable debts, which is that there are times when things will happen which are not in the control of the debtor, and therefore that needs debt restructuring. The problem which you might be referring to is that the debtor can sometimes then abuse that notion and impose undue burdens on the creditor. And that's why we need a predictable framework. We need a framework in which there is a clarity of rules, where ideally those rules are contractually agreed on as the basis for future debt restructurings. Now, this doesn't deal with the overhang of debt that we have from this past crisis, where such contracts did not exist. And that has to be done in potentially disruptive ways. But again, if there is a forward-looking framework which is a guide to the future, then even what has to be done with regard to the legacy debt will be seen as part of a process that is leading to the future, and where the disruption will be minimized. What the proposal is saying is that forgiveness comes in the form of equity claims. So if you forgive my debt, you're not completely giving up your claims on me. You're saying that if in the future I do well, then I will repay you. So what it is saying is I alleviate the debt burden now, and if I don't do well, then yes, there is a forgiveness, but if I end up doing better in the future, then I will repay you. It is taking away the immediate source of the immediate cause that is weighing down on the debtor, and allowing the debtor to get on with his business. And it is that allowing the debtor to get on with his business that is needed to create a new vent for growth and some optimism about the future.